What if everything you've been told about the future is both completely true and utterly deceptive at the same time? What if the very technologies promised to liberate humanity are actually perfecting the systems that have enslaved it for centuries? If you're someone who refuses to accept simple answers to complex questions, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because what we're about to explore will challenge everything you think you know about progress, technology, and the future of human civilization. Right now, across Silicon Valley boardrooms and global think tanks, there's a seductive narrative taking hold. Visionaries like Pete Leiden are telling us we're entering a new 80-year cycle of human reinvention. They paint a picture of artificial intelligence revolutionizing work, clean energy solving climate change, and biotechnology extending human life. They call it the dawn of a new civilization, sustainable capitalism, digital democracy. It sounds exciting, doesn't it? It sounds hopeful. But here's the mind trap we're walking into. What if we're not reinventing civilization at all? What if we're just rearranging its prison bars with prettier colors and more sophisticated locks? Let's examine this pattern, because history has a way of rhyming, even when it doesn't repeat. Every 80 years, we're told, America reinvents itself. 1787 brought us the Constitution and the promise of democracy. 1865 gave us the end of slavery and industrial expansion. 1945 delivered victory over fascism and the birth of the modern world order. And now, in 2025, we're supposedly witnessing the fourth great transformation. But here's what they don't tell you about these cycles. Each one was preceded by catastrophic crisis, justified by elevated ideals, and ultimately resulted in new forms of domination disguised as progress. The Constitution promised liberty while codifying slavery. The Industrial Revolution freed us from feudalism while creating wage slavery. The post-war boom defeated fascism while birthed the military-industrial complex and perpetual warfare. Each cycle promised freedom and delivered new kings. Consider this: in 1945, we thought atomic energy would power a utopian future. Instead, it gave us the Cold War and mutually assured destruction. In 1995, we thought the internet would democratize information. Instead, it created surveillance capitalism and algorithmic manipulation. In 2008, we thought social media would connect humanity. Instead, it polarized societies and weaponized our attention. The pattern is clear. Revolutionary technologies emerge, promise liberation, get captured by existing power structures, and ultimately serve to concentrate power rather than distribute it. Let's examine the three pillars of this supposed new civilization with the skepticism they deserve. First, artificial intelligence, what some call the mental steam engine. We're told AI will democratize knowledge, automate mundane work, and free humans for creative pursuits. But who trains these models? Who writes the data? Who profits when they make mistakes? The answer is a handful of tech giants with unprecedented access to human behavior, thought patterns, and decision-making processes. OpenAI, despite its name, is no longer open. Google's DeepMind shapes what billions see and think. Meta's algorithms determine what constitutes truth for 3 billion users. These aren't neutral tools. They're extensions of corporate will, trained on human culture without consent, designed to maximize engagement and profit, not human flourishing. Second, clean energy technology. Yes, solar and wind can theoretically provide abundant power, but who controls the rare earth minerals needed for batteries? Who builds the infrastructure? Who owns the patents? The same multinational corporations and authoritarian states that have dominated energy markets for decades. We're not democratizing energy. We're changing its source while maintaining its control structure. Third, biotechnology promises to edit genes, manufacture meat, and extend human life. But at what cost and for whom? When we can edit human genetics, who decides what constitutes improvement? When we can manufacture life, who owns the patents on existence itself? When we can extend life indefinitely, will it be for everyone or just those who can afford it? The uncomfortable truth is that progress is no longer collective. It's proprietary. Every breakthrough comes with terms of service, privacy policies, and subscription fees. If this analysis is making you uncomfortable, that's good. Discomfort is the beginning of wisdom. If you're finding value in this deeper look, hit that like button and share this with someone who isn't afraid to question the narrative. Pete Leiden speaks of sustainable capitalism and digital democracy as if they're inevitable outcomes of technological progress. But let's examine what's actually happening. Are we decentralizing power? Or are we centralizing it under private platforms that answer to no government and serve no public interest? When 5 companies control 90% of cloud computing? When 3 companies control 70% of social media? When do companies control 80% of smartphone operating systems? How exactly is this democratic? Digital democracy sounds wonderful until you realize it might mean constant surveillance, disguised as participation. Your vote might be counted, but your every click, purchase, and conversation is monitored, analyzed, and monetized. The panopticon Jeremy Bentham imagined in the 18th century is now in your pocket, and you paid for it voluntarily. Sustainable capitalism appears to be capitalism with better marketing. The same extractive logic that depleted the Earth's resources is now being applied to human attention, creativity, and relationships. We're not consuming physical goods. We're consuming each other's lives through endless streams of content, turning human experience into data points for algorithmic optimization. The question isn't whether capitalism can be sustainable. The question is whether a system built on infinite growth and resource extraction can ever truly serve finite human needs on a finite planet. Here's where the story gets truly dark. Every technological revolution has accelerated inequality, and this one is no different. In fact, it might be the final acceleration. Consider the timeline. The printing press concentrated power in whoever controlled the presses. The Industrial Revolution concentrated power in whoever owned the factories. The Information Revolution concentrated power in whoever controlled the servers. Now, the Artificial Intelligence Revolution is concentrating power in whoever owns the algorithms that think. But this time is different. Previous revolutions at least required human workers. Factory owners needed laborers. Media companies needed journalists. Even early tech companies needed programmers. But AI threatens to automate human cognition itself. What happens when thinking becomes a commodity owned by corporations? We're watching the emergence of what some scholars call digital feudalism, a system where a few tech lords own the means of cognitive production, while the rest of us become digital serfs, providing data labor in exchange for access to their platforms. Look at the numbers. The top 1% now owns more wealth than the bottom 50% combined. The top 10 richest people have more wealth than the bottom 3 billion. And this concentration is accelerating, not slowing down. Every AI breakthrough, every platform innovation, every digital transformation consolidates more power into fewer hands. The historical parallel is chilling. In medieval feudalism, peasants worked the land but never owned it. In digital feudalism, we create the content, provide the data, and build the communities, but we own none of it. We're sharecroppers in the attention economy, and the landlords are billionaires who've never met us. But here's the most insidious part. They've convinced us we're free. This isn't oppression in the traditional sense. No one's forcing us to use smartphones, social media, or AI assistants. We choose these technologies because they provide genuine benefits. They connect us, inform us, and entertain us. They solve real problems and fulfill real needs. This is what philosopher Byung-Chul Han calls the burnout society. We're not disciplined by external authority. We discipline ourselves. We voluntarily submit to surveillance because it's convenient. We accept algorithmic manipulation because it saves time. We trade privacy for personalization and call it progress. The genius of this system is that it makes us complicit in our own control. We're not victims. We're participants. We're not oppressed. We're optimized. We're not enslaved. We're enhanced. Psychologist Shoshana Zuboff calls this surveillance capitalism, a system that extracts human experience as raw material for behavioral prediction and modification. We're not the customers, we're the product. We're not being served, we're being processed. The most successful authoritarian systems in history were those that convinced people they were free. East Germans weren't told they were prisoners, they were told they were building a workers' paradise. Soviet citizens weren't told they were oppressed. They were told they were part of a great historical project. Today, we're not told we're being controlled. We're told we're being empowered. We're not told we're being exploited. We're told we're being optimized. We're not told we're being manipulated. We're told we're being personalized. So, what do we do? How do we navigate this landscape without completely disconnecting from the digital world? That increasingly defines modern life. First, we need to develop what I call technological literacy. This isn't just knowing how to use devices, it's understanding how devices use us. Learn how algorithms work. Understand how your data is collected, processed, and sold. Read the terms of service. Know what you're agreeing to. Second, practice intentional consumption. Just because technology exists doesn't mean you have to use it. Just because a platform is free doesn't mean it's good for you. Curate your digital environment as carefully as you would your physical environment. Third, diversify your information sources. Don't let algorithms decide what you see. Actively seek out perspectives that challenge your assumptions. Read books, not just articles. Listen to long-form content, not just sound bites. Engage with ideas that require effort to understand. Fourth, develop analog skills. Learn to think without Google, navigate without GPS, communicate without social media. These aren't just nostalgic hobbies, they're forms of resistance against technological dependency. Fifth, support decentralized alternatives. Use open source software when possible. Support independent creators and platforms. Pay for journalism and creative content. Put your money where your values are. But individual solutions alone are insufficient. Personal responsibility, while important, can become a form of victim blaming when the systems themselves are designed to exploit human psychology and social structures. Real change requires systemic intervention. But here's the catch. The systems that need to change are the same ones that have captured the mechanisms of change. We need antitrust enforcement that actually breaks up tech monopolies, not just fines them. We need data rights legislation that treats personal information as property, not commodity. We need algorithmic transparency requirements that make black box systems accountable to public scrutiny. We need public digital infrastructure that serves citizens, not shareholders. Imagine if the internet was treated like public utilities, roads, water, electricity, services that are too important to be left to market forces alone. We need universal basic services that decouple survival from employment in an age of automation. When machines can do most jobs, we need new definitions of work, value, and purpose. We need educational systems that teach critical thinking, not just technical skills. Systems that produce citizens, not just consumers. Systems that prepare people for a world of constant change, not just specific jobs. But even these solutions assume that existing democratic institutions can govern technologies they don't understand and companies they can't control. When tech platforms have more users than countries have citizens, when algorithms make decisions faster than human oversight can evaluate, when corporate research budgets exceed national science funding, who really has the power to regulate whom? The uncomfortable truth is that we might need entirely new forms of governance for the digital age. Forms that don't yet exist and might be impossible to create within current structures. This brings us to the heart of the matter. What kind of civilization are we actually building? Every great civilization has asked this question. The Greeks asked whether virtue could be taught. The Romans asked whether empire could be sustained. The Enlightenment asked whether reason could replace tradition. The Industrial Age asked whether progress could solve human problems. Now we're asking whether intelligence can be artificial, whether capitalism can be sustainable, whether democracy can be digital, whether humanity can be enhanced. But these might be the wrong questions. The right question might be, are we building a better future or just more efficient systems to perpetuate the old one? Consider the parallels. The Enlightenment gave us science, then we used it to build bombs. The Industrial Revolution gave us prosperity, then we used it to exploit workers. The Information Age gave us connection, then we used it to isolate and manipulate. Now artificial intelligence gives us knowledge, but will it also decide who deserves it? Biotechnology gives us the power to edit life, but who will write the code? Clean energy gives us abundant power, but who will control the switch? Every revolution promised freedom and delivered new forms of control. Every technological breakthrough promised to solve human problems and created new ones. Every utopian vision has been corrupted by the very human nature it sought to transcend. The pattern suggests that technology amplifies existing human tendencies, rather than transforming them. If we're selfish, technology makes us more efficiently selfish. If we're tribal, technology makes us more effectively tribal. If we're short-sighted, technology makes us more powerfully short-sighted. So here we are, at what might be the most important crossroads in human history. We have tools of unprecedented power and potential. We can communicate instantly across the globe, access all human knowledge, and solve problems that have plagued our species for millennia. But we're using these tools within systems designed for scarcity, competition, and control. We're applying 21st century technology to 18th century institutions and 12th century power structures. The question isn't whether we can build a better future. The question is whether we're brave enough to abandon the systems that got us here, but can't take us where we need to go. This isn't about being anti-technology or anti-progress. It's about being pro-human in an age when being human is becoming increasingly difficult. It's about choosing conscious evolution over unconscious optimization. The AI age isn't inherently the end of capitalism or its final form. It's a moment of choice, a moment when we decide whether technology serves humanity or humanity serves technology. Whether we use our tools to create genuine abundance or more sophisticated scarcity. Whether we build systems that enhance human flourishing or systems that optimize human exploitation. The future isn't predetermined. It's not inevitable. It's not being built by invisible forces beyond our control. It's being built right now by choices we make every day, by the apps we download, the services we use, the politicians we elect, the companies we support, the narratives we accept. If we're really at the birth of a new civilization, we need more than new tools. We need new values. We need new stories. We need new definitions of progress, success, and human worth. Because otherwise, we're not evolving. We're just upgrading the system that's already failed. The most dangerous phrase in any language is "this is how things have always been." The most liberating phrase is "this is how things could be." What world are you choosing to build? What story are you telling about the future? What values are you willing to defend in an age of unprecedented change? The conversation doesn't end here. It begins here, in the comments, in your communities, in your choices. What aspect of this technological transformation concerns you most? What questions are you asking that others aren't? What solutions are you willing to fight for? Share this with someone who needs to hear it, because the future isn't built by algorithms or corporations or governments. It's built by humans who refuse to accept that things have to be the way they are. It's built by people who believe that another world is possible and are willing to work for it. The AI age is here. The question is, will we be its masters or its servants? The answer depends on choices we make today.